Our Stamp coming to you live from Fort Myers, Florida, and it is Saturday, September 13th of 2025. Hope everyone is doing well. Come on in and have a seat. Let me get my comments loaded and opened and loaded, and we'll get started here in just a few minutes. All right. Comments. Let's see if we can, if I can copy these in here. And let's see, here we go. All right, we're going to see if that works and enter that. All right, we are on and loaded. Let me sign into my Facebook page and we'll get started here. Give me about, let's go another 2 minutes or so. All righty. I think we are good. We are live. All right, let's see here. I got to get some of these things off my screen. All right, the chat is opened. All right. We'll come on in and have a seat. If you haven't said hi, the chat is open. I am streaming to YouTube as well as my Facebook page, so you can make a comment and I will see what you have to say, and we'll try to respond. So we'll start here in about 2 minutes. We'll let the little slower folks come on, get on board, and then we'll get started. We're going to do a sketch today. It is Creation Anticipation Saturday, our once a month sketch class. And I have a new sketch for you all today. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Yep, I see a few stragglers coming in. And let me text my friend and let her know that we are going to be live. All right. And let her know what we're doing here, using a sketch. Okay. All righty. Let's see what time, 11:32. All right. We'll get started here in just a minute. And let me get myself organized over here. We're going to make two. I'm going to do 2 cards, and I'll show you the 2 that I've created previously. And then we're going to do 2 cards using some different punches and sentiments and papers, obviously. This is a really neat sketch. I found this, I'm trying to think, one of the demonstrators, Lonnie, no, let me think what her name was. Lonnie. I saw it on her website. So I've cased this from her, made a few changes, and made it my own. And that's what we're going to work with, a 6x6 piece of pattern paper. And that will allow us to make 1 card, but we're going to use everything except for a small piece. And when you see the sketch, you'll see it's a very small piece that will be, I don't want to say wasted, but it's not big enough to use. So we're good. All right. So let me check and see if I'm still online. Hold on a minute, because it looks like I might have come off, not me, but my phone. Let me just double check that real quick. Okie dokie. I think we're good. Yep. All right. So let's go ahead and get started, everyone. If you come in, if you happen to get on here late, then you can watch the replay to get all of the measurements and everything else that might be needed. Let me silence my phone so that things that are popping through will be quiet. All right. So today is Creation Anticipation Sketch Day. And we're going to be working with 6x6 paper. So this is a great way to use up some of that smaller paper that we may not, or you can cut your 12x12 down to a 6x6 size. So I'm going to flip the camera down and then I'll show you the sketch and then I'll show you the cards that I've made previously and then we'll get started. So give me just a minute. Let me flip my camera down and flip it so everything is looking in your direction. And give me just a second. I had all this set up so I wouldn't have to do a whole lot. There we go. All right, so this is our sketch that we're doing, and you can either take a screenshot of this. I'll bring it closer to the camera. So you can see what we're going to be doing is we've got a 6x6, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to come over 3 7/8, and we're going to cut down. So if your paper has a pattern, keep that in mind when you're cutting, and you'll see why when we get ready. So the first cut's going to be 3 7/8. You're going to cut that, and then you're going to take that piece and cut 2 at 2.5 inches, and then that will leave the last piece at 1 inch. So that was going to use up those 3 right here that I'm showing you. Then you're going to move over to this section here, and you're going to cut up at 4.5. So you're going to cut this at 4.5, and then you're going to cut this in half at 1 1/16. You're going to, once you cut to the 4.5, then that's going to cut off this piece right here. You're going to take off, and that's what the X's mean. That's that little piece right there we will not be using. So that leaves you a 2 2/8 or 1 1/4 piece. So that way you'll cut those in half, and then we're going to put that on a base of cardstock, and I'll give you those measurements in just a moment. So I'm going to let that sit right here for just a second. I am going to be working with the Right Words. This is a set that came out not too long ago, but it's a really great set if you need to have various sentiments for different occasions. It's 14, and it is the red rubber. And as Stampin Up has announced earlier, the red rubber will be going away at the end of the year, and they will be strictly doing the photopolymer, which are the stamps that we can see through. So that's a good thing. And then the packages are changing as well. So we will no longer be getting the plastic cases that they are in now. They're going to come in envelopes, which is going to make it plastic sleeve, I should say. And it's going to make it a lot easier for storage, and it won't take up as much room. So that's the plus side. All right, so let's move this off. I'll leave this sketch right here so that you can see that until we get ready to get started on creating. And here is one of the cards that I created. Now, this was a fall card. It was a little dark. It's part of the Journey. Let me see. Hang on one second. Let me get it out so I can tell you the name of it. Thoughtful Journey paper. And it's the one that has a lot of different water scenes, fall scenes, and such. So I thought that this would be a nice card for fall. It's a little bit darker than what I was thinking, but it did the job. So you'll see how we cut these pieces up. So the 2 right here are going this way. So this is in portrait. And then you're going to put the 2.5 inch by 3 7/8 piece, one at the top, and then one's going to be at the bottom. And then the 2 strips to the right of that right here, you're going to flip over, and this is going to be the back side of your paper. So we're going to show the front and the back side of the papers. And then this is going to be mounted on a piece of cardstock, and I'll give you that measurement when I get ready and I'll start cutting. And then this piece up here is used for the inside of the card. So we're going to place that one right there, and that just brings that image over to the inside, and then I stamped a sentiment there. All right, so that's one of the cards that I did. And then here's a different one. This one we use the Thankful Garden. And same thing, it's got the 2.5 inches, one on top of each other. We flipped over to show the back side of the paper. And then again, we've carried that 1-inch strip over to the inside of the card. And then you can use whatever sentiments that you have or whatever works with you. Welcome, everyone. Hey, Karen, how are you? Happy Saturday to you. So that's what we're going to be working on. And then here's the sketch. So let me bring in my paper trimmer, and I will give you the measurements of the cardstock in just a minute. So we'll go ahead and cut our paper first. And let's go ahead. We're going to work with cloud cover. And this is the paper from the blooms. It is Beautiful Gallery, and it goes along with the, let's see, what is that stamp called? Blooming. I'm trying to find it on my stamp, on my case, but this is one that we've used multiple times, and it's got a neutral type color. So that's going to go very well when we flip this over and do the opposite side. All right. So let me bring this in so y'all can see. All right. So here's the sketch. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to come over 3 7/8. So I'm going to line my paper up at the 3 7/8 mark, and we're going to cut that straight. Whoops. We're going to cut that straight down. All right. And then we're going to turn it. I turn it to the left. You can turn it whichever way, depending on your pattern. And then we're going to make 2.5. We're going to make a cut at 2.5 inches. So we'll cut that. And then we're going to do a second 2.5. Get that lined up. And then that leaves us with the 1 inch, which is going to be used on the inside of the card. All right. So these two pieces, we're going to set off to the side right there. Then we're going to take this piece, and we know it's already at, this is at 2 inches, or actually it's at 2 1/4. So we're going to turn this, and we're going to cut off, let's see, this is at, hang on a minute. This, we want 4.5 inches, right? So let's move this over to 4.5. I got to decide which part of the flowers I want to cut off. Let's see, which do we want? I think we'll go this way. No, let's go this way. All right, so we're going to cut this down to 4.5. And then that leaves you this little rectangle piece, little rectangle square. That's the only scrap that you're going to have. Okay, so you can just toss that in your scrap pile. And then we're going to take this and we're going to cut this at 1 by 1 1/16. So look at your lines on your cutting blade. You should have this on your paper trimmer. And you want to come over to the first line, and that's going to make it 1 1/16. And we're going to cut that in half. And you could have done this. We could have cut, and then this one, we're going to cut it again, and it's going to cut off just a smidge, not even a 1/16, because I think we've got it cut down. Yep, see, it's barely enough to cut off because we had it cut initially. All right, so that's what we're going to do with those. Now these will be flipped over, and we're going to place those on a piece of cardstock. So let's get the trimmer out. Now the piece of cardstock that you're going to need is going to be measured at 2.5 inches by 4 3/4. And I'm using Secret C, and our card base is going to be cloud cover. So let me move the paper trimmer out of the way, and let's bring in our card base, and then we'll go ahead and start building this card. This probably is going to hey, Phyllis, I got your email or your text. I'll look at it and then give you give you my response when we get done. Oh, you got your catalog. Great. Great, Karen. I'm glad. I know, don't we all? Okay. So those of you who requested a catalog, since Karen just mentioned it. Hey, Linda. Catalogs have been sent. Those that ordered the paper shares, your catalog is in with your shares. So if you have not received a catalog and you had requested one, leave me a message and I will make sure that I get one out. I was pretty confident I got everybody, but just in case, or if you haven't received one and you're not working with the demonstrator, let me know and I'll be more than happy to send you one. Okay, so here's our sketch for those that are just joining. We're using a 6x6 piece of pattern paper. And we've just cut our pieces up. Now I'm using a card base of cloud cover, and this is 8.5 by 4.25, and we've, I'm sorry, 4.5, and we scored it at, let me start over with that. It's 8.5 by 5.5, and we're scoring it at 4.25. All right, so we did our first cuts at 2.5 inches. So we're going to go ahead and lay those are going to be laid on top of each other. So it's going to be one on top. So if you have a pattern like this, then you want to keep that in mind when you're cutting, if that's going to come into play. So if we look at how we cut our paper, let's see if we can build this back together. This one's going to go down there. I think that one's going to go there. Hang on. I think this one's going to be flipped around. And we'll place it so we get all, there we go. So, but this is going to go on the inside of our card. So it really determines which piece you want at the top or the bottom. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and add some adhesive to this. So let's get our glue out. And this is the back side. It's a very, very pale blue, very calm color. Hang on, the glue doesn't want to cooperate this morning. I've been pulling the glue out of it earlier, and it's still wanting to kind of not, it's just got it's got something holding it up from squeezing out like it normally does. So just give me 1 second. I don't want to get glue on my fingers. All right, so we're going to place this one at the top here. And just bring it down. You just want to have a small border going all the way around. All right, so that's that. And then we'll add our second piece. So we'll go ahead and get this one glued down as well. This is really easy. So if you've got, and this would be great for making multiple cards. So with with the holidays coming up, and if you make a lot of Christmas cards, this might be something that you'd want to use because you can get them done pretty quickly. You can get it all cut in advance and glued down. It doesn't take that long. All right, so we've got our two pieces down here. Give me 1 second. I'm going to try to see if I can get my glue to get the piece in the inside that's holding it up to come out. All right. Okay, so that's the front of the card. All right, and then this is our secret C, which is 2.5 by 4 3/4. And then we're going to flip our pieces over, the two 1 1/16, and we're going to glue those down on this piece right here. So we're going to flip it over so we have that coordinating back side to add to our card. I might have to get another thing of glue out because this little guy does not want to cooperate. All right, so we're going to place this down. Now, this really doesn't have much of a pattern. It's more of a design. So just place that on your piece of cardstock. And again, I'm using Secret C, which I think I've mentioned to you all that this is probably one of my favorite of the new colors, in colors. All right. Oh, yeah. All right, so we're going to place that right there. And this, again, this is a really easy card. So if you're someone that's just starting out, this will be perfect, something perfect for you to do. All right, now we're going to take this, we're going to put this on dimensional. So let's pop that up. So let's pull those in. And because it's a little bit longer, I'm going to add 6 dimensionals. So 2 at the bottom, 2 at the top, and then 2 in the center area. That way the center part doesn't fall down. So we'll go ahead and remove the backings to that. Whoopsie. And got 2 more to take off of here. There we go. And then I'm going to we're going to lay this. Now you can put this however you want on your card. If you want to center it, you can. I'm going to place it. I think I'm going to place it to the right a little bit for something different. So I'm going to place it right about there. I'm making sure that my spacing is even between the top and the bottom and to the right side. All right. So we're going to put that right like that. And then we're going to do our sentiment. Now this one, we're going to stamp. Let me find my scrap here. Hang on. I've got a scrap. All right, we're going to stamp our sentiment, and it's going to, and then we're going to use this retired heartfelt hexagon punch. I like this, and it's big enough to hold my sentiment. So don't be afraid to pull out the ones that you have that are, not available anymore. You get to still use them. And I'm going to stamp this in Secret C. Let's see what that looks like. I think it's going to go good with the coordinating paper. I'm going to stamp it on here. All right. And as you know, it's one of my favorite colors. And oops, we need to leave that open because we got to stamp the inside of our card too. All right. So now I'm going to come in and I'm going to cut this hexagon. And I'm going to try to get it centered. And then we're going to punch this out. And then I'm going to show you another trick. All right. So we've got that. Now I'm going to take a piece of the coordinating cardstock and I'm going to cut the hexagon out of that as well. Now, I'm going to cut this in half to attach it to the back since we don't have a larger hexagon, right? If I lay this behind it, you're not going to see it because it's the same size. So what I'm going to do is I want it to show on the top and the bottom, or you can let it show through on the sides. It depends on how you want to do your punch. I think I want to have it for the top all the way over the top and at the bottom. So what I'm going to do is turn it and cut it in the middle. So we're going to cut it right down the middle. And it doesn't have to be exact because this is not going to be seen. So just snip it down long ways. Okay, we're not going to do top to bottom. We're going to do side to side. And then we're going to add our adhesive to this. And I'm going to put that on the back of my sentiment, because that way I don't have to worry about making sure I get it in the right place. All right. And then I'm going to take one of the halves. Now I'm putting this on the bottom, and you can have as much show through as you would like, or you can just have a small amount. It's your card. I'm just going to have a small amount showing through. Can you see that? And then let me do the other one. And this is just a great way that you can use up those punches that you might have that doesn't have another size. All right, so we're going to lay that there. And if it's easier for you to lay it on the table and put it together, that's fine too. All right, so there we go. We've got our, I'll bring it up higher. So you can see I've got a little bit of a border around the top and the bottom, and that's by cutting that punch in half. And then we're going to go ahead and add this to, now this I'm going to add it. Give me 1 second. I'm going to pull in, we need some bling. So let me get some bling in here. Let's see, we've got this to use. We'll use this. All right. So you can have it placed like that if you'd like, or you can have it coming off to the side. Now, if you want it coming off to the side, you can put a dimensional on the left side and just glue on the right. I think I want to put it right here because I want my flower paper to show. So I'm not going to pop this up since we popped up the cardstock that it's sitting on. So I'm just going to glue this down with my Tombow glue. All right, so we're just going to glue this down right onto our right side of our papers. All right, so we're going to place that, and we're going to put that right about there, kind of centered. All right, so there's the front of the card. We'll add some bling in just a minute. Now we have the inside. This is our piece that we're going to use for the inside of the card, and we are going to stamp the inside and place our piece. This is that 1-inch strip that we had. Now you can place that down like that, or you can flip it over. It's your call, whichever you want to do. And I think I'm going to, because of the picture and it really doesn't show much of the flower, I think I'm going to show the back side. So I'm going to go ahead and flip this over and put some adhesive on it. Let's get that on here. And then we're going to do another card too when we get done. So we're going to have 2 cards. Now this is 1 inch, so you're not going to go edge to edge. So just center it. That's all you have to do. All right, and then we're going to stamp the sentiment. And I'm going to stamp this towards the bottom. That way, if you want to write your message, that gives you plenty of room to do so. And this, these sentiments are from the Right Words that I showed a few minutes ago. So again, we're using the Secret C. All right. Let's close up our ink pad because you know how that is. We get to wear it. All right. And then we're going to glue this to the inside of our card. Now we've got everything coordinating. So let's glue. I have a feeling that now I know why my glue don't want to come out because I think I'm using it up. Okay. There we go. Now it's coming out. All right. So we're going to put this right here on the inside. And this is cut at 4 by 5 1/4. All right, so there's our card. There's our first card using that sketch. So there you go. So the 2 1/2, 2 1/2 are these pieces here. The 1 inch is the one we just put on the inside of the card. And then these two are these strips right here that we flipped over to show the back side. And isn't that gorgeous? I just love this paper and that color. Isn't that pretty? And then open it up and there's our sentiment on the inside. All right. I know. Don't you love it? It's wonderful. Okay. So now let's go on. Oops, wait a minute. We got to put some, let's put some bling on here before we forget, because we definitely want some. Now these are the in color flat pearls. This is the Secret C. So I think we're going to use that. I'm going to put one at the top and one at the bottom there. And I'm going to use the larger of the two because this is a pretty large sentiment. We're going to put 2 here. Now we can't just put 2 because we have to have 3, right? We got to put things in odd numbers. So I'm going to take and use a medium size, and I'm just going to place that right. Let's put it right here on the flowers on the card itself. Okay, doke. So there's that first card. Pretty easy. So I think I'm going to be using this to make Christmas cards. I'm doing a craft fair or holiday bazaar, and actually it's in the middle of November, and I think I'm going to use this to make a bunch of Christmas cards with. So I think that will make it a lot easier for me. I can knock a lot of them out. So okay, so there's that one. Let's put that off to the side. Let's bring in the next paper and we'll show you. I'm using the same word stamp set. So again, we're using the Right Words, and I love these. There's 14 of the words in here. It's got a little bit of everything. Sympathy, birthday, wishing you, good thoughts, missing you, and all that stuff. So, okay, so let's bring in the next set. Now this is the same, another piece. This piece is, this was from the blooms. This one is from the, hang on a minute. I've got scraps all over and they're falling out. This is the Thoughtful Journey. So this is one with the boats in the background. Looks kind of like a cloudy day. And we're going to use Secret C for the card base. That coordinates, I think, very well. And then we're going to use pecan pie for the part that's going to hold our 2 little small strips. Okay. So let's go ahead and we'll get started on this one. We're going to cut this paper down again. So those that are just joining, you can watch as I cut it. This is our card base, 8 1/2 by 5 1/2. And again, I've scored it at 4 1/4. Make sure to always use your bone folder to get that good crease on your card. All right, we're going to put that off to the side for just a minute. We're going to bring in our paper trimmer. And we're going to do exactly like our template. Put it right there. That way y'all can see it. Okay, so we're going to cut 3 7/8. So coming over to 3 7/8, which is actually 2 lines before you get to the number 4 on your paper trimmer. All right, so we're going to cut that off. Again, save this because we're going to cut this in just a moment. We're going to turn our paper. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to cut this first because I like this image. So I want to be able to get this at 2 1/2 inches. I'm going to get most of this, and that's going to be the bottom part of my card. So keep that in mind. You can flip your paper around. You don't have to always go from top to bottom. You can cut from bottom up. So this is the first cut's going to be at 2 1/2 inches, right? Because that's what it says right there. So I'm going to cut this one. That way I have got my boats that are going to be on the bottom of my card. And then I'm going to cut another 2.5, which is my sky. And then it leaves me my one piece for the inside of the card. So I'm going to set that right there. And now we have this piece here. So again, I want to keep this boat here. Well, it really doesn't matter because we're going to flip this over, but we may not, we'll see. All right, this we need to cut at 4.5. So let's cut this down to 4.5. I'm going to still take that off the top because that's just a bunch of sky. So we'll just, that piece right here again is just what the one piece that we're not going to use. All right, and then we're going to take this and we're going to cut this in half. We're going to cut it at 1 1/16. So we're going to place it right there in the trimmer. Hang on a minute. Let me get it right there. And we're going to cut that. And all right, so we've got our two pieces. Now we can do this however we want on our pattern paper. So we can leave it, if we want to leave it the same, or we can flip it over. So, all right, here we go. We're going to line these two up on the front, put this over here. All right, so now I'm putting I'm going to have the boats down here at the bottom, and I'm going to have my sky at the top. So there's our picture. So I'm probably going to put the top piece over to the left so we've got more of the boats in the water showing. So you can see how you can cut your paper to get the images to do what you would like them to do or to show. Oh, thanks, Karen. I know I love this paper. It's really has a lot of, you get 48 sheets, so it's got a lot of different patterns in it, and it's got a lot of potential. And especially when you cut it in different ways, you get a little bit more use out of the paper and how you design your cards. All right, and then this one we're going to place right down here. And again, you just want to lay it where you have an even border on each side, on all four sides going around. Okay. All right. Isn't that gorgeous? I just love that picture right there. Now, of course, unfortunately, we're going to have to cover it up. Part of that covered up. So we can put this on the top, which I think I'll do. We'll just turn our pieces over. Now you can cut this down. This piece here, if it's a little too wide, you could cut it down by 1/8 of an inch if you want. That's not going to make a whole lot, but it will put your papers a little bit closer together so you're not taking up that entire scene. All right, so we're going to go ahead and put these on here. And again, this piece is, what did I do? Hang on a second. 2.5 by 4 3/4. So 2.5 by 4 3/4. And we're just going to flip our little strips over and place those down on here. Because I think if we do this, I think that's going to be a little busy to have that on top of our paper. So we're going to flip these over. So we're going to go ahead and add the adhesive. Whoops, there we go. Now I got the glue coming out. I think it's getting low. Actually, that's a lot. Okay, so we're going to push this. I'm going to take, this is what I do when I put too much glue. I'm going to put a little bit on this one and kind of get it smeared. All right, so this one we're going to lay here on this piece of cardstock. So I'll put that right there. Yeah, you can see my little glue oozing out. And then we'll add some to this piece. All right. And then this one, we actually could flip them around, but we'll do it like this. And then you can put whichever one. We can turn this around if we don't want those dark pieces at the top. We want to start out with it, which is probably what I'll do. We'll turn it this way. Make sure we got our pieces on here. Spread them out a little bit. The nice thing about the green Tombow glue is it does allow you a little bit of time to move your paper. All right, and then this one, I'm going to place this right here. It's going to cover up some of the boats, but you'll still get to see some. And again, we're going to pop this up on Dimensionals. So let's get those out. And we're going to do, again, 3 rows of 2 each. All right. And here's the sketch that we're using, a 6x6 paper. And again, you can cut that from your 12x12 or the 6x6 that comes in that size. All right, so let's get these backings off. And I found that if you push your thumbnail down into, or fingernail down into the dimensional, it helps remove the backing. So, and this looks like I could have trimmed that down a little bit, but since I've already got the dimensionals, we're leaving it like it is. I'm going to leave a little bit on the left side showing because I want just a small amount. I want to show that. And then we're going to place this right here. There's our boats. All right. And then we're going to do our sentiment. Now on this one, we are going to stamp, and we're going to do 2 circle punches. So let me stamp the sentiment here, and I'm going to do this in, I'm thinking of what color ink. Oh, do we want cloud cover or do we want pecan? What do you all think? Let's try. All right. If we do cloud cover, since we don't have that ink pad, I've got my little ink spot here. So let's ink up the stamp. Let's see what it looks like. And if we don't like it, we'll flip the paper over and do it in pecan. So let's stamp this in cloud cover. This is what I did by the re-inker, and then just use a little stamp spot. And you've got a little ink pad that you can use. All right, so let's put that on here. And we're going to see what that's going to look like. And I'm going to punch that on here. So that may look okay. Or we can, let's see, maybe, all right, let's turn this over. Let's stamp that in pecan and let's see what that looks like. So we have an option to do either one. So let's stamp that and then y'all can decide which color you think we need to stamp it in. So let's stamp that here because it's going to be cut out. Okay, I have a feeling the pecan's going to look better on, because the other one's a little light. All right, so what do y'all think? I think the pecan on the cloud cover cardstock is going to look a lot nicer. And not a whole lot of that's going to show through, or we could do the same. All right, what do y'all think? Give me a comment. We're going to do a circle punch. We're going to do a 2-inch circle, and then we're going to do a 2 1/4 on the cloud cover. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this one out now. All right, so that's going to be the cloud cover. So we're going to have that, and then we can have our sentiment like that, or we can do this. I think that this is going to offset. I think that's going to look a lot better. So let's do that way. All right, so let's go ahead and cut this one out. We're using a 2-inch circle. It's going to be tight, but it's just enough to get all of our words in there. So we're going to cut that out. I'm going to leave that in the pecan pie ink. Hang on a minute. There we go. I think that will probably look much better. Yeah, I think so. Or do we want, would it look better with the Secret C? What do y'all think? Decisions. All right, let's see. I think I like the light, so it's because this is dark. Let's leave it like that. Let's go ahead and go with the Secrets, the pecan pie ink, and then we're going to go with the cloud cover circle. And yeah, I think that'll be fine because that's pulling the colors from the paper. Okay, let's go with that. All right. So let's get some glue on here and glue this one down. And then this one, we're going to do the same thing. I think we're going to We'll pop this one up. I'm going to offset it. I'm going to put it towards the top. Well, let me think about this. Maybe we can just put it right here in the center of the two strips. I kind of like it like that. Maybe cloud backed with dark paper. Make this one the dark paper. We can do that. Let me go get a scrap real quick. I used up my scrap. Hang on one second. Let me grab a scrap. All right, let's see. I think that might look better too. All right, let's get our circle punch out, and we're going to do the 2 1/4. And do you like the pumpkin, the pecan pie ink? I think that looks nice. I think this is going to look better actually. So let us take, I can take this off because it still hasn't adhered. Maybe not. Let's just stamp again. Let's do one more stamping. Let me get another scrap of white out here and we'll stamp our sentiment. Give me 1 second here. That fit in the 2 circle. Nope. Hang on a minute. Here we go. I've got a scrap above all my papers. You know how that goes. I think this will work. Nope. Hang on. I've got circles up here. Too big of a circle, but we'll use that. We'll use this circle and then we'll cut it down. All right, so let's stamp that. You like the pecan? Okay, we're going to go with pecan then. All right, so let's stamp it and then we'll cut this circle because this one's too big. Extra scraps. All right, so we're going to stamp that here. Yeah, I think that was a better idea to do it that way. All right, so let's bring in, this is the 2, we're going to do the 2-inch punch now for the circle. So we're coming down a 1/4 of an inch. So let's get that in here and get that right where we want it. Okay, I think that looks pretty good right there. Hang on. My punches, I think, are wearing out. There we go. Okay, so that's going to go in here. Yep, I agree, Karen. This looks much better. All right, that's going to go right there. Okie doke. Yeah, much better. Much, much, much better. Okay. I like that too. And I think we'll just lay it right in the center of that. And that way we can still see a little bit of our boats over here. I'm just going to glue this down. I'm not going to pop it up since the back of that behind it is already popped up on dimensional. So we'll just lay this down flat and we'll just put it right in the center so you can still see the colors of those strips of paper. All right, so let's do that. And then we need to add our piece to the inside. Now this is dark. I think I'm going to put the sky here so it kind of does pull that from the front. So I'm going to glue that side, this side down. And we're going to place that right about here. All right. And then we're going to stamp an inside sentiment. And we are going to put my ink away, which I need. And we're going to stamp this one. This one says, I really don't like that you're leaving, but I hope you love where you're going. And then the inside's going to say, I miss you already. So we'll stamp that. And I'm just going to stamp it right above the piece of pattern paper. That still gives you room to write your message. All right. And then we're going to glue that to the inside. And now, there we go. Now my glue is working. I guess it just took a little bit of some effort to get it to come out. All right. And there's the inside of our card. So we've carried that paper over. You had a different colored a different color stamped. Oh, I had the, I think it was the, I think I did the cloud cover. I think I did one of the inks was the cloud cover. And then I moved it to this one. But I changed it from the cloud cover to the pecan. So I think that looks better anyways. I think it would have been too light to have on there, but that's the way it is now. So, but I can always use this for something else. I'm going to save that one. All right. So those are our 2 cards based on our template. So there's the sketch again that you can see if you're just joining or didn't get a chance to take a picture of it. And then here are the cards that we created using that sketch. So really pretty. Look at that. So you're using up almost the entire piece of the 6x6 paper. You're actually only losing out on, it's a 2 1/8 inch by 1.5. So it's not much that you're losing out on. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining me. If you have any questions or need anything, let me know. Again, if you haven't received your catalog from me, let me know that. Just leave me a comment and I'll double check. I'm pretty sure I've sent everybody theirs. If you're not working with a demonstrator, I'd love to have you contact me and we can talk about working together. And if you're new to my channel, welcome. Make sure if you're watching on YouTube that you subscribe to my channel as well as click that bell. So that way, every time I upload a new video, they'll notify you of that. And if you're on Facebook and you like what I've done this afternoon or this morning, please make sure that you share that with your other crafty friends. I greatly appreciate it. All right. So here are our cards. Thank you so much for spending part of your Saturday morning with me. I greatly appreciate it. And I will see you all back on Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a great rest of your weekend, and I'll see you all on Tuesday. Bye now.